Good evening and thank you for joining us. Today is the turn of mid-floor residents of Wang Fuk House to return to their fire-ravaged flats to retrieve what remains of their former homes at Wang Fuk Court. Chief Executive John Lee says adjustments will be made to their home returning arrangements if needed.
Mr. Tam used to live on the 17th floor of Wang Fuk House. To make the trip back to his former home slightly easier, he spent more than $5,000 on an exoskeleton device to help climb the stairs. And he came prepared with a shovel. Biting back tears, Mr. Tam says he's a bit scared as most of his belongings have probably burned to ashes. While mentally prepared to have little to salvage amid the charred ruins, he's still taken aback by the sight. In the unit, now a gutted shell of a home that once was. The washing machine also left in shambles. Mr. Tam eventually recovered some gold jewelry and even a modest amount of cash. Those allowed to return today carried everything they could, all in the hope of salvaging one more piece of memory. They include this photography aficionado. Having lost $600,000 to $700,000 worth of equipment, this resident says, though some of the lenses have turned into shards, they are now keepsakes. Choking back tears, Mr. Wan, who had grown up in the neighborhood, said if he had not lived there, he might never have known what it feels like to watch one's home burn to nothing and to lose someone you love. Another resident, Kern, wants to thank his neighbors who alerted his family of the blaze and effectively saved their lives. Not everyone was able to make the climb through the high-rise residential building, including the seniors. This resident, Mr. Chung, says his granny insists on coming with them. Having to wait downstairs, she later learned that their unit was not as badly scorched as expected, with some family photos retrieved. Mr. Chung says 3 hours is too short, especially for some family members of those who perished, to bid a proper farewell to their former home and the deceased. He hopes the government can extend the 3-hour visit. The initial 3-day window for Wang Fuk House residents to recover their belongings will conclude this Wednesday. The second phase will begin this Thursday, covering 3 more buildings, including the more severely damaged Wang Chung House. Wang Tai House, Wang Kin House, and Wang Sheng House will be the last to reopen. Commenting on day 1 of the arrangements, Chief Executive John Lee described the process as smooth and orderly.
It was conducted with several important principles in mind, which includes safety, orderliness, and compassion. And I was also very relieved to know that some members indeed got what they have been hoping to find. And some even got some surprises, which was reassuring.
He asked that adjustments will be made if the needs arise.
First of all, making the area for people to put on their gears a larger area so that it will be less crowded and it will be more convenient. And the second thing, we'll put up awnings in case it will be raining at some time.
Lee adds the government hopes to sum up Wang Fuk Court's owners' buyback choices by late August.
The public hearing on the Wang Fuk Court fire in Tai Po continued today. A Labor Department representative testified that officers did not follow up on complaints of workers smoking, as they couldn't see anyone actually smoking when they inspected the site. The officers referred the matter to the Fire Services Department later on. Samantha Lee reports.
The third round of public hearing into the devastating fire continued at the City Gallery in Central. The independent committee heard testimony from staff from the Labor Department, including Lam Xiaoqing, a former occupational safety officer who handled residents' complaints before the blaze. Lam testified that the department received complaints of workers smoking on the site before the fire. The department conducted 17 inspections. She said no workers were seen smoking on site, so the department did not follow up on the complaints. The independent committee's counsel Lee Soo-woon asked if a complaint received in July last year was referred to the Fire Services Department after the inspection. Lam explained it was because the complainant's allegations appeared to involve violations of the Fire Services Ordinance. Regarding the fire retardancy of the scaffolding netting, Lam said the contractor had submitted a fire retardant certificate during the renovation. The department also received another certificate from the contractor in November last year. Lee said the two documents were in fact the same. Lam said she did not notice that. The afternoon session heard testimony from Chief Occupational Safety Officer Yoon Si-lok, who said officers usually verify certificates by checking with laboratories, but there is little the department can do if someone deliberately deceives. Lee also brought up issues on how government departments dealt with resident complaints. As far back in October 2023, some of the estate's residents had raised concerns to the government about the scaffolding materials and workplace safety issues. The reports were passed to the building department and then to the housing bureau. Lee Man-pong, a senior divisional occupational safety officer, said construction material was not a focus of the Labor Department's inspection. Officers therefore did not follow up. The public hearing will continue tomorrow. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
Israel told residents of South Lebanon to stay out of belt of territory at the border and not to approach the area of the Litani River. This in a move entrenching its grip over southern Lebanon, despite a ceasefire in the war with Hezbollah. The U.S.-mediated 10-day ceasefire took effect on Thursday, largely halting the war between Israel and Iran-backed Hezbollah that spiraled out of the conflict between the U.S. and Iran. However, it remains fragile. Israeli troops are aiming to create a buffer zone to shield northern Israel from Hezbollah attack. Hezbollah says it maintains the right to resist Israeli occupation. Lebanese Parliament Speaker Nabi Berri said U.S. President Donald Trump's administration was making an effort to extend the ceasefire agreed by the Israeli and Lebanese governments. A U.S. State Department spokesperson said Washington would host a second round of ambassador-level talks between Lebanon and Israel on Thursday. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has acknowledged that he made the wrong judgment when he appointed Peter Mandelson as UK ambassador to Washington, but said he would not have done so if he had known Mandelson failed security checks. This as ex-civil servant behind the decision approved Mandelson's appointment, Ollie Robbins, said he felt political pressure to rush through the appointment. Tracy Furness has more.
The British Prime Minister is facing calls to resign after the revelation that Peter Mandelson was given the job as UK ambassador to Washington despite failing security checks. Starmer told lawmakers in the House of Commons that he took responsibility for appointing Mandelson.
At the heart of this, there is also a judgment I made that was wrong. I should not have appointed Peter Mandelson. I take responsibility for that decision. And I apologise again to the victims of the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, who were clearly failed by my decision.
He said that he did not have all the relevant information when he appointed Mandelson.
That I wasn't told that Peter Mandelson had failed security vetting when he's appointed is staggering. That I wasn't told that he'd failed security vetting when I was telling Parliament that due process had been followed is unforgivable. Not only was I not told, no minister was told. And I'm absolutely furious about that.
Starmer's Labour Party is not facing an imminent election over the Mandelson scandal. The next election is in 2029, but the case has led his party to ask if Starmer is the right man for the job.
This scandal and rumbling Peter Mandelson revelations over the past months have fed into a sense among many lawmakers from Starmer's own Labour Party that there is something wrong with the Prime Minister's judgment. Since he was elected in July 2024, he's made a series of missteps, he's done policy U-turns, he's churned through a lot of senior aides in his office, and it's all adding to this question in the minds of many lawmakers: is he the right man for the job?
Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Welcome back. Japan endorsed scrapping a ban on lethal weapons exports, a major change of its post-war policy. The approval of the new guideline by Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi's cabinet clears a final set of hurdles for Japan's arms sales. The country had long prohibited most arms exports under its post-World War II pacifist constitution. Exports have been limited to the areas of rescue, transport, alert, surveillance, and minesweeping. The new guideline scraps those limits and allows for export of fighter jets, missiles, and destroyers. China expresses serious concern over the revision of rules, according to Foreign Ministry spokesperson Guo Jiakun. Guo said the international community will remain highly vigilant over Japan's recent dangerous moves in the military and security fields. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi made a religious offering to a Tokyo shrine that China and both North and South Korea consider a symbol of Japan's wartime militarism. Local media reported that Takaichi donated a masakaki offering during a traditional spring festival at Yasukuni Shrine. The shrine honors 2.5 million Japanese war dead, including convicted war criminals. Victims of Japanese aggression during the first half of the 20th century see the shrine as a symbol of Japanese militarism. China firmly opposes and strongly condemns this latest move and has lodged strong representations and protests with the Japanese side, said Foreign Ministry spokesperson Guo Jiakun. An ammunition explosion this morning at a Japan Ground Self-Defense Force training area in Oita Prefecture leaves 3 people killed and 1 injured, the NHK reports. The blast took place during a training exercise at the Hijudai maneuver area in southwestern Japan. Chief Cabinet Secretary Minoru Kihara told reporters in Tokyo that a tank shell exploded in a Type 10 main battle tank's turret during a training session. The GSDF is investigating the details of the incident, including the condition of those involved and the cause of the explosion. American musician David pleads not guilty to the first-degree murder of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose body was found inside the trunk of his car in Hollywood. The 21-year-old, whose legal name is David Burke, faces a maximum prison sentence of life without parole for the charges of murder, lewd, and lascivious acts with a person under 14 and mutilating a body. His attorney entered not guilty pleas on his behalf, and he is ordered by the judge to remain in custody without bail. Hernandez was 13 when her family last saw her in 2024, and she was last known to be alive in April 2025. Her long-dead body was found in September. Back locally, as Hong Kong's fuel prices remain persistently high, an academic is calling on more measures to rein in the price hikes. This, as Chief Executive John Lee says, any government intervention on fuel pricing must be carefully managed to avoid straining public finances.
While the Middle East conflict continues to roil global energy prices, Hong Kong pump prices show no sign of retreating. Chief Executive John Lee says while there are no illusions about a swift turnaround in fuel prices, oil prices have eased from their recent peak. Still, he says the prices remain well above pre-conflict levels and the situation warrants continued monitoring. The government has earmarked $1.8 billion to fund the diesel subsidies for designated commercial vehicles, $3 per liter over 2 months, starting late this month at the soonest. When asked if the government will consider longer-term measures to regulate oil prices, the city leader said if there are measures, the measures should be temporary and time-limited to ensure it won't create public finance risks. On the mainland, however, more relief is on the way. Mainland authorities announced fuel price cuts will take effect at midnight Wednesday, the first time this year. Joseph Chan from the University of Hong Kong's Business School says the government should consider introducing a cap on oil company profits and easing the high fuel taxes.
In the past, because Hong Kong is a closed loop, and then we try to actually protect the environment and try to limit actually the traffic jam. But now, because we are so connected to China mainland. And that's why when we look at a lot of the commercial use of the vehicle, they will actually do the refueling actually in mainland, and then they come to Hong Kong. They have been doing it a lot already. So that is why this original reason of why we need to keep it of the high tax is not there anymore. So then it is actually a good timing to actually review it.
As a high tax rate can carry broader economic consequences, he calls on the government to commission a study to forge a solution that balances the interests of oil companies, consumers, and also the public purse.
The government will launch a public consultation this quarter on the city's first five-year plan to align with the national 15th five-year plan. A collaborative mechanism will also be established with the Legislative Council to help gather more opinions. Chief Executive Zhang Li said the blueprint will cover various areas, including the economy, education, housing, employment, transport, and among others. Samantha Lee has more.
Preparations for the city's first five-year plan is now in full swing. Speaking to the press today, Chief Executive Zhang Li said the government aims to launch a public consultation this quarter on the five-year blueprint.
The five-year plan is crucial for economic and societal development. It is in relation to every Hong Konger and also our benefit. I call on all parties to actively participate in our five-year plan. We are actively seeking to publish the public consultation document for the Hong Kong's five-year plan.
Li also highlighted the benefits of the five-year plan, such as consolidating and enhancing Hong Kong's status as a leading international center in areas such as finance, and strengthening Hong Kong's hub status in international aviation and offshore renminbi.
The five-year plan will clearly stipulate the development strategies for our economy as well as targets. The five-year plan will unite society and ensure that resources are spent on the most prioritized areas.
Samantha Lee, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.